Voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com. And we're on the line this morning with State Representative Jim Struzzi. Our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, voted best personal injury law firm in the Best of Indiana County contest. Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people, and Representative Struzzi, of course, reacting along with everybody else to Governor Shapiro's announcement yesterday of, I guess, a cap-and-trade program that is all contained within Pennsylvania, and sort of using that as a bargaining chip to try to wiggle our way out of the Reggie thing. Representative Struzzi, good morning. Did I bring that to you correctly? Is that a good way to phrase that?
Yeah, I think so, Todd. I think the governor is proposing sort of a, this for that kind of thing, basically saying instead of entering the regional greenhouse gas initiative, we'll do our own Pennsylvania gas initiative, which I think is kind of, the same thing as it was before. Really nothing new here.
It's a tax, is the way that you and Senator Pittman have put it right from the start. And a tax is something that he is actually going to the legislature to try to get this pushed through. Do you see that it has a chance?
I certainly hope not. I think my colleagues on both sides of the aisle will realize that this is a bad idea. It's been a bad idea since the previous administration introduced it 4 years ago. It's at a time when Governor Shapiro is talking about attracting businesses to Pennsylvania, bringing people back to Pennsylvania. This is really the last thing that we need, because it is a new tax on businesses, a new tax on industry. We've seen it, not anecdotally, we've seen investment in energy production and manufacturing across the board move to other states because of the threat of the regional greenhouse gas initiative and other bad policy in Pennsylvania. And here we are again promoting another bad policy.
Well, both you and the senator have said in the past as well that when you think about this tax on the energy companies themselves, there's also the trickle-down effect, because that filters down to all of the businesses and really the consumers as well, the residents of our Pennsylvania, who are going to have to pay this tax.
And I really think the governor should give the people of Pennsylvania more credit. He's proposing in this plan of his to give 70% of the revenue collected from this cap-and-trade tax back to Pennsylvania electricity consumers in the form of a rebate, but it's only going to jack the rates of electricity up even higher, so that rebate probably won't amount to anything. It'll probably just equal it out where it is now, if that, because this new cap-and-trade thing that he's proposing is simply going to send electricity generation rates through the roof.
And obviously it will have great harm for our Indiana County coal-fired generating plants, because they are going to, again, be put under the gun and have to examine and find ways to reduce carbon emissions, and they already meet the federal emissions guidelines.
They do, and I think that's the other side of this is, do we even need this at this point? I mean, our power plants, our energy producers have bent over backwards to meet federal regulations. They've invested millions of dollars to meet those regulations, and they keep moving the goalpost, as they say. And I think this is just another bad idea that's going to result in more investment in Pennsylvania going to other states.
Now, the governor phrased it as a way for us to get out from under Reggie, and sort of said that if we do this, then he's going to drop us out of Reggie. Meanwhile, Reggie continues to make its way through the court system, and I'm assuming that you and your colleagues would just as soon that process continue and get rid of Reggie that way.
Yeah, I think we can continue the court process. As you know, the Commonwealth courts ruled that it was unconstitutional. I have a feeling that the Supreme Court's going to follow the same suit. But it's the same thing. Even if Reggie goes away and the governor proposes this new cap and trade, it's the same thing. It's a tax on energy production. It's a tax on manufacturing. It's a tax on business at a time when we certainly don't need that. What we should be doing is investing in these industries, investing in energy production, and really supporting what they're trying to do, not punishing them.
Reggie has often been characterized as something that is really not about energy policy, but about balance of power in Pennsylvania government. And I know that you and the senator have both talked about that extensively, and the idea that the power is being taken away from from the legislature and invested even more in the governor's office.
And that's exactly the case that the governor was making when he filed the appeal to the Supreme Court, is that he needs that power. So it's clearly about power. It's not about Reggie. It's not about the climate. It's not about anything other than the governor wanting to have the power to enact an executive order to enter into a regional pact or anything like that. I'm
guessing that nobody in the legislature wants to give up a little bit more of the power that they've already lost.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's the Constitution, Todd. It's the way that our democracy was established. That only the legislature can create laws that enact taxes, and the Governor Wolf tried to circumvent that. Now Governor Shapiro is trying to hold on to that, and it's simply not the way that our state was built.
With the way that bills make their way into law in Pennsylvania, I don't know that the governor has a timeline in mind for this, but as you think about its possibilities and its potential, do you see it actually happening within a year, 2 or 5 years?
Well, here's the other side of it, and we heard a lot of this over the past 3 weeks of budget hearings. The governor puts a lot of proposals out there, a lot of ideas. The realigning of higher education is another example, without a lot of substance underneath them. All of these things require legislation. You know, we're already into March of this final year of this legislative session. You have to introduce legislation, get it passed out of committee, get it passed through the House, approved by the Senate. I mean, it's a long process, and it's also an election year. So is it realistically possible for these bills to make it over the finish line by the end of this legislative session? I think that's going to be a pretty heavy lift.
State Representative Jim Struzzi, kind enough to join us on the phone, reacting to the governor's energy proposal yesterday. Wanted to bring up another topic with you while I have you on the line today, as you've been following our Marion Center girls making their way through the state playoffs, and our chance the other night to cover them on video. And this is an issue that other radio stations are dealing with as well, and media companies. The PIAA has just a tremendous amount of power in determining who gets the rights to do video of these basketball games, and they can hide behind a paywall with NFHS. We're well aware of what that issue is. You introduced a bill in the legislature to protect local broadcasters. Obviously, with the actions this week, we've seen how much we need that bill to pass. Just a comment from you on the issue as it stands now, and whether this actually gives extra juice to your bill.
Well, I think it certainly does, Todd. You know, we introduced this bill last session. It's the Fair Play in Broadcasting Act. Last session, I believe in the fall of 2022, we had a hearing on this. It seemed like the problem was going to go away, and you know, everybody was in the room saying, yeah, we agree, and then here we are again. The same thing continues to happen. So I reintroduced the bill last year. I continue to pressure our two respective committee chairs in the Education Committee within the House to try and maybe have another hearing or try to get this bill moving. But it's simply not fair to broadcasters like Renda and a lot of these small-town broadcasters that, you know, they're covering the local sports. They put the local flavor on it. They've done it for years. And now these limiting contracts are really taking that away, and it's really taking away from the fans that want to watch this stuff, from the local people, from the families, from these kids themselves. And I think it's really unfair. And I sympathize and empathize with everything that these folks are going through who try to have these relationships and broadcast these important sporting events for the local community. So I hope that we can do something. This is another reason why this is important, that we get this moving. We're
seeing increasing calls as well from media companies and from some schools to say, let's examine what the PIAA is and how they operate. And are they really operating above board? And are there conflicts of interest there? And we see some obvious ones, but that's a real part of this whole argument, isn't it?
It absolutely is. One of my colleagues from Beaver County, Representative Matsey, introduced a bill to have a comprehensive look at the PIAA to see what are they doing. And this stems from some of the issues they had with one of their football teams being moved to a different classification in Beaver County. But it's along the same lines. You know, they sort of have this authoritarian approach where we're going to do whatever we want, and too bad for the rest of you. And again, it's not the way these things were supposed to be. So I think it's important that if it's a shame that we have to intervene legislatively, but if that's what we have to do to make things, to level the playing field, then we have to do that.
And the legislature does have oversight authority over the PIAA.
Yeah, and that's why we're calling for at least a closer look at some of their policies and practices to try and make things more fair to everyone. Well,
I know you're on your way to a meeting, and I appreciate you taking some time this morning to visit with us here on Indiana in the Morning. Representative Jim Struzzi, thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me on, Todd.
It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com.